time to change the world by bringing it to its knees. Am I good businessman?
Yeah, about that. We're bankrupt.
What? You are hereby relieved of your status as CPA Supreme and as a living person.
I still need to do your personal taxes.
I'm sorry. I thought this coffee was for everyone.
Attack!
M.O.D.O.K!
And do you know what M.O.D.O.K stands for?
Mental organism designed only
For killing. For killing. Hi, everyone. I'm Patton Oswalt. Thank you so much for being here virtually at WonderCon. And we are so happy that you've all decided to join us here on the M.O.D.O.K panel. If you look around me, I don't know where they are, Brady Bunch style, but we've got Melissa Fumero, who, of course, plays M.O.D.O.K's daughter, Melissa. And yes, we also have Ben Schwartz, who plays M.O.D.O.K's daughter, Lou.
His daughter?
And then, of course, oh God, I'm sorry. M.O.D.O.K's son. Oh, it's been a long day. I've actually been.
I waved anyway. I was like, he nailed it. We'll get
Exactly.
into
We
it.
can't we just, we'll just,
We'll
yeah.
pick it up later. We'll pick it up
Yeah.
later. Yeah.
Who do I play, Patton?
We also have Ben Schwartz, who plays M.O.D.O.K's son, Lou. And of course, Aimee Garcia, who plays M.O.D.O.K's long suffering wife, Jody. And of course, in the even more suffering category, Jon Daly as the voice of the super adaptoid. And of course, my co-creator and really the starship captain of this whole enterprise. See what I did? Writer, genius, Jordan Blum. So thank you guys so much for coming.
Hello, everybody.
Hey everyone, my name is Monica. I am so excited for this M.O.D.O.K TV series. In fact, he is one of my favorite villains that I play on one of my favorite board games. And I would just like to ask, for how menacing and scary M.O.D.O.K is, what was the decision to add a little bit of a humorous or like a funny touch to the TV series?
First off, I love the two different color eye shades. That looked so awesome. It's weird. It wasn't really a decision to add comedy, because even when we went back and read the original M.O.D.O.K from the original comic that he was in, Captain America and the Falcon, there was an element of humor to him in that he's so self-loathing and so full of angst that it's kind of funny. And he's also such a ridiculously created supervillain. He's just this thing that lives in misery. So we had a lot of fun just going, well, if we just extend out what he already is, it's kind of funny.
Right, like he is this character that aspires to be a Doctor Doom, this kind of A-list menacing villain, but I think he always falls short of it. And the fact that he's conscious that he's not an A-lister, that he's kind of a B-lister, and it drives him insane. I think the comedy was sort of built into the character already, and it was, well, where does this guy go, when he leaves that Captain America panel? Like, does he go home? What is that like? What's his home life like? And also running an evil organization, there's got to be this bureaucracy there, and like, to make sure that you have, you meet all the needs of your workers, and that everyone is happy, and that you're not running this organization into the ground, and you've got to pay taxes and kind of payroll and all that stuff. There's all that stuff kind of built into who M.O.D.O.K is and how frustrated he is as a character.
Hi, my question is, what was the genesis of the show, and why did you decide to make it stop motion? Also, how did it feel to see your characters in stop motion animation?
We looked at a lot of different animation styles, didn't we? We looked at a couple of 2D ones, but the stop motion, there was just something about, because it's Kirby and you want all the emotions and the facial expressions to be so big, that stop motion just ended up being the way to go.
Absolutely, and Stupid Buddy, who produced the show, they had this incredible new technology where they were able to kind of film the show with this built-in handheld quality that gave it this verite style where you were at home with M.O.D.O.K or at the office with M.O.D.O.K, and it kind of added to the comedy, and it felt so unique. And I feel like I came out of Spider-Verse being like, I want to take a risk, I want to do something different, I want to do something that no one's ever seen before, and Stupid Buddy kind of rose to the occasion. Melissa, why don't we start with you? Like, what was it like holding Melissa?
It's so cool. No, and going to the workshop too, where they had all the little like costumes for Jodie, and it was just so surreal. And then the sets and seeing them just like tinily like move things over in the camera, and it was so intricate, and it just blew me away. Like all of it, I still don't totally understand it, if I'm being honest. Like how it actually all works. But I'm just blown away by their creativity, your creativity, and how it all came together. It looks incredible, and I'm so psyched for people to see it.
John, you're a robot. What was it like having your essence transferred into a robot body?
So cool. And yeah, like you said, like it was so cool to go in and just be in this kind of like moving toy factory thing. Going in to visit Stupid Buddy is just so cool, and all the detail that's going into it, and just kind of learning about the process and how it's different from, Ray Harryhausen and Wallace and Gromit and all that stuff, and how it's kind of like updated was just cool. Like cool to nerd out on all that stuff. And I think, as for the last question, like the comedy, it's funny. I have this original appearance of Super Adaptoid right here.
Look at that nerd cred right there.
Whoa, nerd cred.
Yeah.
Well, Jordan has the nerd cred, but because he got it for me. But it's funny. It's funny to see like Super Adaptoid adding the comedy actually adds to the dimensionality of my character. There are more dimensions to my character in this show than there ever were in the comic book, as far as I can tell. And it's just interesting to explore that, and comedy allows you to kind of explore that actually, and like all the colors of these characters and stuff. But yeah.
It's cool that you bring that up, because the animators again are such amazing actors, and Melissa and Ben and Aimee give so many little quirks to their characters. Especially, I love how Aimee has Jodie. She'll do this thing where she'll like sigh in defeat and then do that putting the brave face back on, and damn it, I'm gonna try to make this work. And they animate that moment of her deciding, well, let's just soldier on. But Jon, who does this over the top, like emotive performance, but his character, because there's so little detail he's just this silver robot, but the way they articulate his movements really like met his vocal performance. So to see both those, like the subtlety of what Aimee and Melissa and Ben do, and then the over the top, like Jon is the most over the top character with the least amount of detail in him, and the way that they met that challenge I thought was fantastic.
And then Ben, you wrote on Robot Chicken. Was it like super surreal to get your own puppet?
Yes, it was crazy to go back there, because I remember when I wrote for that show, I wrote on 5 episodes. It was my first job in LA. We would be in this little room and write, and then I would sneak off to all the little sets to see all the sketches that were being shot. I love that stuff. It was, that place reminded me of, like, remember when you used to watch those old cartoons and it'd be like bum bum and something goes through a factory.
Yeah.
That like place reminds me of that, where it's like they get the toy, then they put the hat on, then it goes here, then someone spends a week making it go like this. And so like I love that process. And when I was a writer for that show, I made sure to always check all those places to see it. So it was crazy. It's awesome. And also the clip, that whatever the next clip is that people are going to see, it's so well done. It's like a whole different level of stuff that it's the action. Whenever I was doing Robot Chicken, the action would always be the toughest, because you think about how many frames it takes to move something. And what they pulled off with this show is something I never kind of seen with stop motion before. It's gorgeous.
And
Yeah,
then
I think the show is more like a movie. There's 30 sets simultaneous, and it's almost like being in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where you're in Avengers Tower, and then there's you move to the other set, and then you're in a galaxy far, far away, and these handheld cameras and breakthrough technology, and it's never been done before. It's, Stupid Buddy invented something that has never been seen on television before. So you have these puppets that start becoming characters, and you forget that they're puppets because you get really invested into this family. And what I thought was so cool and geeking out is that it really is like a movie. You have these galactic warfare with aliens and robot guts and these Avengers fighting each other, but then you just have this dysfunctional family that you're rooting for, and you just get wrapped into this whole thing. And I love that they gave Jodie a really nice butt. I just want to say I'm very excited about that.
It's quite sculpted. It is
so
quite
thanks,
sculpted.
guys.
Yes, literally.
I feel the same about Adaptoid.
I mean,
Good butt.
Adaptoid is pretty. He's kind of
Pretty sexy.
pretty fit. Yeah.
Pretty thick.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm really excited to see the new world you've created for M.O.D.O.K. Can you let us in on some of the new characters we'll get to meet?
Well, who can we reveal, Jordan? Because
We
before we reveal anything, we were so shocked at who they allowed us to use. Like there were toys that we thought, well, let's put it in the script. They'll shoot it. In fact, there were a couple of characters we put in thinking they'll shoot this one down, and then that way we can sneak the other one in, and they were totally okay with our first choices.
Yeah, there was insane A-list characters that have been in movies and cartoons and video games for years that they're like, yeah, no problem. And then the weirdest, like D-list character, like Stiltman or Turner D Century, had some rights thing that we weren't allowed to touch. So it made no sense, but we were happy. We're so happy with the characters that we got to play with. But to me, it was adding to the Marvel universe and being able to create new characters to kind of build this family around M.O.D.O.K. So I don't know if you guys want to talk a little bit about, these newer characters that we've created for the show. Melissa, do you want to talk about Melissa?
Sure. Melissa's like the apple of M.O.D.O.K's eye, I guess. She looks a lot like him, but way more fabulous. And she's the queen bee at her high school and somehow figure skates very well.
That's right.
And
in a hover chair, very impressive.
In a hover chair, very impressive.
So she's got a very ambitious spirit and, really wants to make her parents proud, which in this family means being a supervillain. And so those are her aspirations.
But she's also, as you find out later, she's actually very sensitive inside. She's just been hiding it very
She is like,
yeah.
She's layered like many teenage girls. It's not all on the surface,
Layered and angry.
Oh boy.
Like most teenage girls.
Yeah, layered and angry. That's actually it. That's the best way to describe any teenager. They're layered and angry. That's exactly who they are.
And Ben, what about Lou? What can you tell us about Lou?
I play a character named Lou, who is kind of like the oddball of the group. He's incredibly optimistic, beyond optimistic, which to me is so much fun to play someone who's like an eternal optimist and trying to find things. And the other thing that was incredibly fun for me to play that was kind of set from the beginning is that he's really into his Judaism and he's really excited about his bar mitzvah. So for me, I've never been able to play a character like that before. So that was all very exciting. But to play the oddball in a group of, floating head family craziness is a very fun, to be the person that doesn't quite fit in is a very fun thing to do.
Yeah, you're the weirdest character amongst a bunch of people who are huge heads.
Yes, I'm the one that people think that I'm the weirdo for some reason.
And I think we're the only Marvel show to have like our big finale, like epic finale, take place at a bar mitzvah. I'm very proud of that.
That is so. I speak Hebrew in this. It is.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Aimee, what can you tell us about Jodie?
So I played Jodie, M.O.D.O.K's wife, who supports his vision to take over the world. But she's also a housewife, and she's also a mom, and she's the voice of reason. But I think when you're married to a supervillain, your morality has to be a bit flexible. I love this family because it's like not only multicultural, but it's also multi-bionic. You have a machine married to a human, and then
Finally,
there's
a
Finally.
bionic family.
Yes.
there's nothing more, diverse than that. So yeah, she's so fun, and she loves M.O.D.O.K, and that's what I love. I was lucky enough to record with Patton for one of the episodes,
Yes.
and it was so fun. I felt like I was doing a play, and you just fall in love with M.O.D.O.K. Like you cheer for this supervillain who's being treated like a washed up celebrity, and this mom who is not perfect. This is what I love about her. She falls from grace. She may or may not give her kids things that are not necessarily good for them, but her intentions are great. And she just, she's just fun.
Very glad that we wrote Jodie as not the long suffering wife that just goes, now honey, like she is very early on like, yeah, no, I got to change this, I'm going to try to, and she if anything I think goes on an even messier and more embarrassing journey than M.O.D.O.K goes on in a lot of ways, which was really fun to write.
Yeah, that's so fun when you see M.O.D.O.K pulling back Jodie. You're like, oh my god, a supervillain is pulling back a mom.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And Jon, so Super Adaptoid is a pre-existing character, but I would say your take on him is very different than the version we've seen before. Do you want to talk about him at all?
Well, I think it just adds kind of it's kind of like the Adaptoid in the comics, but just add rage and add frustration. That's kind of it. And he I would say, he turns into stupider things. He does turn into some dumb things, so watch out for
M.O.D.O.K very much uses him as an appliance. Yeah.
Toasters. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I feel like he deep down he just wants to be loved and accepted and be a part of the family, but the family's not really there yet with him.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
We're not that bionic, right?
Hey, I'm Matthew, and my question's for the cast. What drew you guys to this show and or character, and what made you want to be part of this Marvel series? Thanks. Looking forward to the show.
Matthew kind of treated that like a dating video almost.
I know. Let me tell you what draws me to you.
Yeah. Mr. Cozy.
Wow.
Mr. Cozy.
I think Marvel has this amazing world of B, C, and D level characters that are just as human as their big out front A level characters, and they're rarely explored. And the fact that we were starting from a base of a frustrated supervillain who's just as angry at the other supervillains as he is the heroes, that also to me was very, very unique. He's not going to be part of any supervillain team up because he's so sick of everybody. And then the fact that, but he's in his mind, but I should be powerful enough to also maintain a marriage and family, just shows you the damage and hubris that this guy is operating under. I loved that so much.
Well, for me, I just remember, I'll never forget, it was the audition came in and it didn't have like any information on it. I don't even remember if it said Marvel anything. And they were like, I don't know. It's like this monologue. It was like a really long run. And like maybe a couple other scenes, but it was so funny. And it was just so much fun to do and to read. And like, usually voiceover auditions, like they're weird and you record them in your car and you have like no information and you're just like, I don't know, and you just like send it off. But this one I was like, oh, I really, really like this one. And then like a little more information started coming in, and then it was like Marvel, and I was like, because I'm a huge Marvel fan. And so, but still there were like no details. And then once I got it and saw what it was about, I just thought it was so, like Patton was saying, like just to take a character that we don't know, unless you're like a super comic book nerd, we know very little about, and to get to like explore him in this whole new way was so awesome. And then to also just like originate a character is just so
very
awesome.
Fun.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Marvel for me has always had a great sense of humor. It's a very witty, biting, superheroes that are not perfect. They're not gods, they're not untouchable. And there's something so appealing about, Spider-Man, Peter Parker being clumsy and just the anti like Guardians of the Galaxy, like they're the misfits, the motley crew of underdogs, and that's always I think appealed to me personally with Marvel. And then reading this to piggyback what Melissa was saying, you read these characters, and it really just seemed like a live action show to me. Like I felt like these characters really wanted something, and it was so funny and so smart, but also so messed up. Like things should not go together. There shouldn't be like slugs and time warps and galactic warfare and guts spewing everywhere, and then like a love story in the same show. And I felt like to me that, and then I'm a huge fan of everyone on this. I'm trying to remain not geeking out, but like Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I've watched Patton's filibuster. I have not told him this. I'm exposing this on the set. Parks and Rec filibuster multiple times, and like John. So I was just like, okay. It's like seeing a band, liking the band, and then them asking, "You want to be part of the band?" And you're like, "So I want to be part of the band." Yeah. Yeah. And I've always wanted to be a spy, and working for Marvel is kind of like being a spy. So there's that.
True.
Secrecy is very
Yes.
serious.
Aimee speaks very truthfully on that one. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of when you pick up your new scripts, they just leave a chalk mark on a bench, and that's when you know to go and
It's
you go
very
to your
cool.
Yeah, you go see your drop agent and get it.
For me, it was I got lucky. I kind of got started at the beginning where it was a pitch where I got an email from Matthew Sanreich and from Jordan being like, "Hey, we're putting together this thing. We're hoping to sell it somewhere." And you hadn't figured out if it was going to be stop motion or what it was going to be at. So they said, "Would you get in a room with Patton and play his kid?" And I said, "Great. What is it?" And Jordan's like, "Okay, it's going to be like comedic. And it's going to be in this universe, the Marvel universe." I go, "Which character?" He goes, "M.O.D.O.K. I'm like, "Yeah, of course. Yeah." Because in my head, it's like that character to me is so goofy looking. The idea that he is a super villain is bananas. He's floating. He's an enormous head. So I was like, "Let's do this." And he's like, "You're going to play his son." So we did a test scene together. That was probably like a 5-minute test scene where we did a bunch of the script a bunch of times. And then Pat and I improvised quite a bit. And they animated that, and then months later, or maybe a year later, Jordan's like, "We sold it." I was like, "Amazing!" And then we started recording. Then they started casting, and they started recording. But it was at the very beginning, and it was very. Patton and I have actually done a different pilot that Jordan had created, an animated show years ago.
Right.
And, we were in that together, and so Jordan has been very kind to me and wanted to put me in something else. And I love Patton, and as someone who's obsessed with voiceover, Patton in Ratatouille is like insanely beautiful. His performance in Ratatouille was gorgeous. So to be in a room with another voiceover artist like that you get to play with, that you already look up to, was very, very fun. But yeah, I got to be there right at the beginning when you guys weren't sure what it was going to be, and I was just this little kid. So it was super fun, and then to see it grow and to see how, because Jordan and Patton are so funny. And then controlling that room in a way that the scripts are hilarious. Melissa and Aimee are absolutely correct. The scripts are hilarious. So to get to play that. And also I'm a fan of every single person. I've seen Jon Daly perform improv for almost 20 years. I've watched Jon Daly perform. So I'm an enormous fan of his from the beginning. I've watched Aimee and stuff. I've watched Melissa and stuff, and I watched Patton. Yes. So it was a very easy thing to want to do and say yes to at the beginning.
And I've known Jon for a million years, and I just love the fact very early on, Lou was the first character that we really formed the idea of a totally geeky teenager who is lethally comfortable with how geeky he is, and that's what is driving his father crazy. It's that his son isn't experiencing any angst. Like, shouldn't you have, because M.O.D.O.K is all shame. That's all he feels is shame and judgment, and his son has none of it, and it drives him crazy, and I loved that.
Jon Daly turned us down like 500 times, and it wasn't until I came to his house and I cried and I cried. And I said, "Jon, you have to be the adaptoid."
Yeah, they were knocking down my door, and I was just like, okay. No, I'm a huge fan of, my friend Jesse Falcon, who Ben also I think knows.
Oh,
Yes.
Works for Marvel Toy Biz, and he actually introduced me to M.O.D.O.K as one of his. His apartment in New York was filled with toys, and he had some
wow.
amazing like obscure stuff. And so when I heard that Patton, who I was a huge fan of, was playing it, it was just like, wow, that's a miracle. That could be amazing. And then the writing is so amazing. My character is great. Yeah, it's really fun.
Hi guys, my name is Arlo and I'm a huge fan of M.O.D.O.K and Marvel in general. I'm looking forward very much to this show. My question is for Mr. Oswalt. I was wondering how this show compares to your experience on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and if you're happy to be in
Well, Arlo, the thing about this show that I think is so amazing, and I'd like you to hear my answer while you're lying peacefully on a comfortable place. That was the most soothing voice I have ever heard. I want Arlo to record a relaxation tape for me. My God. I mean, we just like with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., this is very much, we want to work within the boundaries of whatever the Marvel Universe is, even though we're expanding it. So there were little nods to, S.H.I.E.L.D. does show up at a certain point. There's so many Easter eggs that I can't talk about, but it's that whole idea of what can we bring to it. And then it was also really, really exciting. I'd already had that experience at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then to see Melissa and Aimee and Ben and Jon in the world and then see them start to grow and add things to it was just as exciting. Like, that's the same thing that I did, and now they're doing it, and it's, they're part of Marvel continuity now. This is part of the continuity. If you've read the comics, Jordan and I wrote a 4-issue comic that officially places Melissa, Jodie, and Lou in the world. I won't say how, but they are part of the world.
The super adaptoid is involved.
The super adaptoid is very involved, and maybe in a way he wouldn't want to be. So that's what's even cooler.
Sounds right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the adaptoid's whole life, is just being roped into things he doesn't want to do. Yeah. So it's been very cool. Working for Marvel is really fun.
Hi guys, my name is Dakota and my question is for Jordan. Jordan, how do you envision that this show is going to deliver on what we've come to expect and know and love from the Marvel Universe? And in what ways do you think that audiences might be surprised by M.O.D.O.K's story? I can't wait for the show. Thank you so much, you guys.
Well, I think it does what Marvel does best, which is it tells this big, giant adventure, set against S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarriers and Asgard and all these kind of places that we're familiar with, but at the center of it is this very relatable, emotional story about a guy who is losing everything in his life, from his family to his job, and kind of has to figure out who he is in his late 40s and what he really wants. And I think Marvel is so good at grounding these larger than life characters and giving them humanity. And I think people will be shocked. The show is very funny and the show is very insane and crazy, but I think there's like a crazy, a lot of heart to the show, and a lot of it is based around M.O.D.O.K's relationship to his family and his coworkers. And I think people may not expect that they might shed a tear here and there amongst the insanity.
There's a very intricate, very messy time travel episode that ends up being so genuinely poignant, especially with Jodie's character, that I again, and we were going out of our way to make it super goofy and fun, and yet this real, and again, I won't say, but there's some moments where you're going, oh my God, this is like a portrait of a love struggling for real. Where did this come from in the middle of all this? It's kind of amazing.
Hello, WonderCon and the cast of M.O.D.O.K. My question is for everybody, and it is, in general or as fans, was there a character that you guys wanted to have on the show because you thought it would be cool personally, just because of, how wide the Marvel Universe is, and who would that character be, and who would you have to voice them if you could get them on the show? Thank you.
To me, I wish we could have had Stan Lee make a cameo. You know, he created the character, and this was all made kind of after his death. And to bigger fact, Jack Kirby, you know, who had died in the 90s, but those two guys, you know, created this character in this universe. And for me, I wish I could have found, you know, a way to have them be on the show. But anyway, the show is made to honor those two guys.
A character that I think was insanely underserved, Colleen Wing from the Iron Fist series is a genuinely her and Misty Knight. I don't know why they just haven't spun them off into a show. So I would have loved to have had them on, voiced by the actresses, those two actresses who did them on Iron Fist, because they were both amazing, and to just suggest that those characters, like, just to keep those characters in the mix so that maybe someone will do something with them, because they're really amazing characters.
A female ninja detective agency is the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, wow. and one of them is a disgraced cop who's actually a badass cop with a robot arm. Like, it's just everything about it is cool, and it's sitting there for someone to do something with it.
Because we have M.O.D.O.K, I like the idea of having more villains, like having villains and seeing what their lives are like. And then just to bring it to the 100th degree, I think to have a normal version of Galactus would be very funny to me. Like the most powerful thing that can grow. So the idea that just is that also head size could be comparable to M.O.D.O.K if we wish.
Yeah. A Galactus day off, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like when he's not making the universe whatever he wants, him and M.O.D.O.K talk, or just someone being more powerful than M.O.D.O.K and getting a talking to, and just having him voiced by someone like Bill Murray or someone you would not see coming. That would be, or Bobcat Goldthwait from Police Academy voice.
Yes.
Something that doesn't make any sense, that could only make sense in our show. That's the stuff that I think would be just the more powerful, the more powerful someone is, humanizing them as much as you can, I think is very funny, and something the show does really well.
I think it'd be funny if like Venom took Melissa out for a date or something.
Yeah, I was trying to think like what are some villain like mentors, or like what are some other like, or Melissa needs like a nemesis, like another teenage nemesis, like or like the teenage ones, like Kate Bishop or Squirrel Girl or
Gwenpool,
like,
and Melissa would
they're
be
like really teenagery about it.
Yeah, especially if her nemesis is a teen hero, but they're both being super petty about it, and that's the
Jubilee, if you will, Jubilee.
Jubilee!
Yeah. Oh God.
They could be rats together.
Jubilee would so get on Melissa's nerves. That would
if they're both up for prom queen or something.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Oh my God, Jubilee and okay. Now my brain's rolling. Okay.
Gilbert Gottfried as Venom.
Great.
Yeah, Patton, I have a question. Who's going to be playing Iron Man?
Who? Does he know it's him? He recorded it. Did he know that? John, you're playing Iron Man.
Really?
Yes.
Nice. Like with the helmet and the lasers, the pew 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 pew. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Any other guest stars?
Any other guest stars? Well, who can we say? Which guest stars can we reveal?
I can reveal
John Hamm's scarf. Who's John Hamm's scarf from that video?
Gorgeous.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, besides Jon Hamm, besides you playing Iron Man, we have some other guest stars. Bill Hader will be doing double duty as the leader and Angar the Screamer. We have
Angar the Screamer, another one of my favorite obscure D-list villains, and he's so hilarious. Oh God, I was so happy to get him for that.
We have Whoopi Goldberg is playing the supervillain Pound Cakes.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness,
she's amazing, and she's amazing.
This is how secretive Marvel is. We're on the show, and we didn't know.
They didn't tell you.
Whoopi Goldberg's in it. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That rules.
And we have Nathan Fillion is playing Wonder Man, who is an Avenger actor and underwear model, and in a relationship with M.O.D.O.K's ex-wife, Jodie. Aimee, do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, that's a really fun episode. I mean, look, a woman's got needs. You know what I mean? So Jodie, Jodie being a very relatable, not superhero character, which I actually loved and appreciated because and she, her and M.O.D.O.K are kind of on the rocks, and Wonder Man swoops in, literally flies in,
Yeah.
and he's so pissed and very charming, and she may or may not turn into a bit of a monster herself because he is a celebrity and underwear model and has like a 16 pack. So there's that, and M.O.D.O.K gets a little petty. I don't want to give a spoiler alert, but he may or may not say to his wife's new lover that she's just using Wonder Man for his body and for his butt. So there's that, but it's just so fun because she gets to go on this fun journey and date for the first time as an independent woman after being a housewife for so long, and she becomes a book author, and she becomes famous, and when you're married to a supervillain, it creates tension in the family. Even her kids are like, "Who is mom? She's the worst." Lou loves her. Lou's like, she's the best. But it's really fun, and I'm really excited. My character gets to date an Avenger.
We have a special surprise for everyone. We have a clip we want to show you. It's just a very simple clip about two AIM employees having a disagreement at the office. So go ahead and take a look.
We got us a mad scientist fight.
What's that little thing? Oh my god! Clever ice punch!
You still can't use your mind blast. My dang shoulder! Why are they shrieking? That's 'cause it's cool. My dang shoulder again.
My choice is Robobra!
Commando T, I call on you!
Oh man, unlikely animal friendship.
Seems like they're not gonna...
Yeah.
So, should we...
Yeah.
Give up?
More like Shiva.
No, I'm not done with you yet.
Oh, the religions are wrong.
You seeing this?
She is the key, not him.
That clip was insane.
That
was amazing.
So good.
Clip is incredible.
Mad
Wow.
scientist stuff. Yeah.
Damn.
Really amazing.
WonderCon, thank you so much for letting us do this virtually. We wish we could be there in person. We'll see you on the other side of the plague. But guys, everyone, thank you guys so much for doing this. All of you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thanks, guys.
you.